Hello, everyone. Welcome. If this is your first time joining us, thank you for being here. You know what? I am so excited to have an incredible guest on today's episode. We actually connected online and even had a couple of Zoom meetings. Hello, Elizabeth.
Hi, Lena. Thanks for having me here. I'm so excited to have this conversation on your podcast show. Congratulations.
Thank you.
1,000 downloads last time I saw.
Yes, that's
Congratulations.
incredible. Yes.
Yeah.
So, welcome to the Defining You podcast. Thank you so much for coming on. I know you were so busy, and I'm so happy that you could make the time to be with us today. So, why don't we start by you briefly introducing yourself? Give us a little background about you, who you are.
Who am I? Oh, goodness. So, I am a business monetization strategist. And what that means is that I help service-based business owners really focus on monetizing their expertise, their passion, and getting heard and seen and paid well online.
Mm-hmm.
I'm also a mom of two. My son is 14 and my daughter now is 12. I
Wow.
am on a mission to get more representation in the marketplace. And so I bring to the table my entrepreneur hat, but I also have a background, nearly a decade in corporate America and product
Wow. Mm-hmm.
innovation experience working for Fortune 500 companies consulting. So, I've been, an entrepreneur running my own business. I've been in corporate America, and it's just constantly having to redefine the next
Mm-hmm.
chapter and the next journey for us.
Absolutely. There's so much going on there. And you have two young children at very impressionable ages. So that's probably very interesting for you right now. But
Yeah.
before we get into it, before you became a business strategist and a monetization expert, can we get a little more into what was life like for you before that?
I worked in healthcare for many, many, many years, and healthcare, education, and retail are some of the top retailers. And I really spent my corporate career working for Fortune 500 companies in product marketing, product development,
Mm-hmm.
product innovation. So I led a lot of teams around how do we develop new products? How do we develop and leverage like emerging technology like big
Mm-hmm.
data, artificial intelligence, I like to say, all the really cool stuff
Cool
that really
stuff.
smart people know how
Right.
to build, but the everyday person doesn't know how to use. That's really what I did. And I also spent a lot of time in corporate working with executives on change management. So,
Mm-hmm.
when you're rolling out new innovations, how do you just get employees to think differently? How do
Mm-hmm.
you get them to be focused on the customer experience? How do you do all of that while, helping the business make money?
Mm-hmm.
So I spent many years in product innovation, specifically in the emerging technology space,
Mm-hmm.
understanding people behavior, how they buy, and how technology influences all of that.
I can just look at you talking, and it seems like I can feel your passion coming out. It seemed like you really enjoyed what you were doing. So, what would you say was the defining moment that made you decide you wanted to be your own boss?
So I actually became an entrepreneur by accident, Helena.
Wow.
I really, at the time, I really enjoyed my career. I had great perks. I had a flexible working from home option. I
Mm-hmm.
really, truly enjoyed the work I was doing. Really just, I was content. And how I became an entrepreneur was truly by accident. And it was really through the heart of service. I
Mm.
got a message on LinkedIn from a woman. She was a co-founder of a startup from Chicago. And she basically just said to me, Elizabeth, I'm really desperate with my business right now. I'm going through everyone that I know on LinkedIn, and your background seems like you could really help me. Would you be willing to hop on a call?
Mm-hmm.
And my heart has always been when people ask for help, I'm going to see. I was like, sure, I don't know what I can do, but if you think
Wow.
I can help you, I will do that. And she told me all of her business symptoms, all of the problems they were having. Basically, they were trying to land their first corporate client.
Mm-hmm.
And I really genuinely believed in my heart that I could really help her. And then she
Wow.
said, Elizabeth, so how much do you charge? And in my head, I was like, I don't know. I guess I should be a business now. Um,
Wow.
And that's really how I started. So 6 months after working with me, they landed their first corporate client.
Mm-hmm.
And, for a small business, that's huge. It's a huge
Mm-hmm.
contract, right?
Yeah.
And I was hooked. I was hooked on entrepreneurship. Um, and I started my consulting that way, and it was really a side business. And I was doing that for about a good year and a half until, I always say, sometimes the universe or God, whatever your higher power belief is, he lays the breadcrumbs out for you.
Mm.
And it's up to you to listen to that
Mm-hmm.
breadcrumb or not. And that's how I started my business. But I
Mm-hmm.
really did not even exit
Wow.
and start my business until almost 2 years later that I finally quit my job and went all in.
Mm-hmm.
And what really was that pivotal point where, I feel like sometimes God's like, hey, are you going to listen to me? Because if you're not, I'm going to push you off that cliff, and you better either fly and soar, or you're going to crash pretty quickly. Right.
Mm-hmm.
And that moment, really about a year and a half later, was really on my 8th-year anniversary with the company. I was on vacation with my family. And my boss at the time, I had been on his team for about 2 years. He texted me and he said he wanted to talk. So I said, sure. I was with my family. I didn't have anywhere to take the call. And I went to my van to take the call. And he basically laid me off. And it was on my 8th-year anniversary. I got laid off and rehired all on the same day. And I remember at the time we were going through some reorgs, and I was already, I already found another internal team that I was going to be joining. We were just waiting for a human resource to finalize all of that
Mm.
paperwork. And he couldn't wait. And he wanted to lay me off. And it was on a Thursday, November 18th. And I remember when he said he was letting me go, and I said, let's call him Joe. I said, Joe, that I'm just waiting right now to land on this other team. We're just waiting for HR to finish the paperwork.
Wait, is that for the same company? You're being
Same
let
company,
go, but then
same
someone.
company.
So who was trying to hire you for the other team? Was that?
It was a different team inside of the company, a different
Mm-hmm.
boss. We were all part of the same company. That's what makes it so bizarre. This is like
Yeah.
why there was such a like big aha moment for me. Because I said to him, I said, Joe, you know that I'm just waiting for internal transfer to join this other team. We're all
Yeah.
in the same company. Like, what's going on? And he basically said to me, I don't know. You're going to have to figure that out. And I said, couldn't you wait until Monday
Wow.
when I came back from vacation to have this talk? And he said to
Mm-hmm.
me, no, because I'm actually going on vacation. So I
Oh
was like,
my
oh, so you
goodness.
are letting me off, calling me during vacation, my vacation, to let me go
That's
so that you can go on vacation, right? Like, wow. Wow. I was like 2 years working for this executive. I just could not believe the lack of compassion that he had.
mm. Oh
And
my goodness.
long story short, later on, I found out it was because of office politics. He did not want me to join this team because where this leader wanted to go was very similar to what he was doing with the team that I
Ah,
had been a part of.
makes sense.
But, I can tell you that in that moment, even though I knew that it wasn't my fault, I was so humiliated. I was so ashamed. I really didn't know how I was going to face my family. And I remember just crying and saying to myself, never again will I give my power away like
Mm-hmm.
that. 8 years
Mm-hmm.
with this company, I drank the Kool-Aid, the mission, the purpose. And in just minutes, that trust, that loyalty, he just like it was just gone in just minutes.
Wow. I know.
Um, and luckily, I contacted my soon to be boss, her chief of staff, and I said, look, I'm getting laid off. I don't know if I have a job or not. Like, what do you guys want me to do? And the chief of staff said to me, she's like, Elizabeth, I've been with the company for 22 years. This is ridiculous. I have never heard of anyone doing this. She's like, why would he do something like this? We're all part
Yeah.
of the same company. I just call it to ego. And she said, you know what, Elizabeth, don't worry about this. Enjoy your time off with your family. Come back in the office on Monday. I will take
Mm-hmm.
care of this with HR right now.
Mm-hmm.
And I barely knew her. And that was Helena, the first time where I was like, here's this complete stranger. She's giving me so much more compassion than the
Mm.
boss I had been slaving
Yeah.
over for 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
Never again will I give my power away. Um, And that was really the turning point of when I started to say, you know what, I'm going to make this whole business thing work. I'm going to make this, being an entrepreneur work, because never again will I give my power away like that and just have it be gone like
You've
that.
said this for the third time. Give your power away. Do you want to expound on that? Can you give, what can the audience learn from your experience in terms of giving your power away and you realizing in that moment that, you know what, I'm going to go on my own? Can you talk about that?
Well, I guess the best way to think about it, right, was that, when we're working for someone else, it's almost like we're trained to wait for permission, right? You're waiting for permission to be recognized as a leader, to get into that leadership development program. Or maybe, you're waiting for permission in a way to earn that merit increase, to get that, salary increase at the end of the year, your performance review, or to get that promotion, right? That your power isn't with you, it's with the other person. And there's a lot of stress that comes with that, because you're in many ways waiting, strategically planning, how should I have this conversation so that I can get promoted? How can I have this conversation so that they will give me the merit increase? And you really build your identity around that company. And what I realized in that was that I did everything that I thought I should do with networking, with managing my career, all of the books that you read, everything that you hear about in college, that you were like, just everything, networking and building your rapport and having an executive to champion you. Like, I did all of those things that I thought I should have been doing, and it still failed me. So what happened? And it was when I realized that I didn't own my power. Like, I was giving it all to the company. They were making these decisions. Like, of course they should. I'm an employee for them. But at the end of the day, I realized I still had the power. I had the power to walk away and say, you know what? I'm not going to let this job, this salary, this performance review define who I am. I'm not going to let them tell me that I am leader worthy when all the executives that I'm looking at don't look like me, don't speak like me. And here I am trying to get into their leadership development program when all the executives don't even look like me. Like, who really has the power there? I do. I have the power to walk away. I'm not as dependent as I think I am on them. Does that make sense?
Yes. So I'm going back to the first client that you said reached out to you on LinkedIn, a powerful resource. What is it that you did working with that client? You say it happened by accident. What is it that you did for that client that gave you the confidence, number one, to think, you know what, I can do this on my own?
What they were trying to do was they were trying to be a partner for corporate clients that were trying to get into minority communities. So as you can imagine, people of color communities, if you are not a part of that community or you don't have an advocate or a partner, it's really hard to get into. So the market that they were focused on was the Chinese American communities all around the major metropolitan cities. So as you can imagine, let's say Chicago, they have Chinatown, and it's a huge Asian American community that corporations were trying to tap into. They have tons of, thousands of dollars to spend. But if you were part of the community, you didn't necessarily have a seat at the table. So many of these corporations didn't know how to sell to them. And so what these corporations would do is they would hire a salesperson from the community. So if you were Asian American, they would obviously have their team that's Asian American trying to knock on people's doors. If you were African American, they were trying to hire salespeople that were African American, knocking on people's doors, right, to get in. So this startup really wanted to be that bridge, and they really wanted to facilitate cultural awareness and really be that partner so that it was easier for them to sell into. So what I helped them do was really think about their idea, package it, right? Help them with their presentation, their offer, their pitch. It came from the world of like nonprofit. So a lot of their language was still very nonprofit terminology. And so I had to help them say, if you're pitching to an executive in corporate, this is where you need to focus. This is where you need to have the case study. You need to do this. You need to do that. So really just helping them package their offer in a way
Mhm.
that when they approached executives, it was immediate. Yeah, we need to work with you. We need to hire you to be our consultant partner
Mhm.
to get into these people of color, minority based communities. And that's really what I did for them, was really just help them think about their packaging, their offer, what really would be appealing to executives and would make executives say yes. And how do they, nurture and try to find those executives on LinkedIn using social media to get in front of them and do presentation so that they could
Mhm.
get their foot in through the door.
That worked.
Yes, that did.
Yes. So now let's go back into what you're doing right now and who you are helping.
Yeah. So, the funny thing is, I still do very much a lot of that. And what I like to think about now is that if you're an expert or you're just very passionate about, what you do, and you really want to make an impact, create greater income, greater impact, and you're like, how do I get into the online space? What I help do is, what I like to say is, I do an online business in a box. Right.
Mm.
And I focus a lot on helping my clients launch their online business. So we have the strategy, the tactics, and the software to help you be successful.
Mhm.
And I specialize in high ticket, which means charging at the higher end. And here's why I think that's important. Most people, when they're thinking about the online space with monetization, they think courses, and that's not really enough money coming in to quit your 9 to 5 and
Mhm.
focus on your business. My goal is to help my clients get cash flow quickly so they could hire help and they can scale.
I like the idea of
Right.
cash flow quickly. Yeah.
Yeah, so that they can hire help. Because here's the thing, your success is not a solo game.
Mm.
You need people, you need a team, you need support, and you need money to hire and retain top talent.
That is so true. Because
Yeah,
once you start your business and you're doing it all on your own, there is no way you're going to be successful if it's just
no,
you doing everything. It doesn't
no,
work.
not at all. And because the online space can be messy, a lot of people get, stuck on technology and all of this built.
Yes.
And so that's why I think online business in a box, where we just
Mhm.
offer the software, because depending on where you're coming at, whether you're a startup or you're a business owner with a team already, and you're just like, how do
Mhm.
I create an online income stream?
Yeah.
The software is different. The technology stack is different from what you need, right? Like, for example, I have one client, she's a nail technician. I'm super excited for her because after a year and a half working together, she's finally owning her own salon. But before, she was renting out space. She was doing, appointment booking for salons. She always dreamed of having an online income stream. She just didn't know what. She
Mhm.
got her own private label branded products, her e-commerce store. Working together, we created a masterclass subscription. So
Mhm.
if you love to do your own nails, some ladies love all the bling and doing your own nails.
Oh, yes.
She has her own product. She teaches a masterclass online. You get the subscription kit. You come into the masterclass, you do it with her. She turned her passion into multiple income streams. She has her
Wow.
in-person appointments. Now she has her online classes and subscriptions. So you don't have to do the masterclasses. You can just buy the kit online.
Mhm.
And now she's finally stepping into being a true salon owner. And she said, Elizabeth, I've never managed a team before. And now I'm getting a salon and a team. I don't even know what to do with that.
So
Right.
that's a success story. That's so you gave her the tools that she needed to be her own boss and to be successful at doing it.
Yeah. There's
That's
5 sets that you need for success,
Mhm.
right? Like, and this is true, especially for your audience. Like, when you think about success, we often think about skill set. That's obvious, how to do something, right? We know that mindset is very important. So that's the
Mhm.
mindset. So most people will tend to think mindset, skill set. But in what I do for my clients, we focus on 5 sets of success. That's mindset, skill set, tool set. Tool set will stop you. Technology will handicap you, disable you, or enable you.
Mhm.
The last 2 sets people don't really pay attention to, but it's so critical with your success. And that's your people set.
Oh,
Who you surround yourself with.
Mhm.
100% of your success is mindset, but what influences your mindset?
Mm.
Surround yourself with your people set. And when
Wow.
you're trying to up level, you got to up level your people set. Okay. You
Mhm.
got to up level your people set. And the last set is your care set. It's self care. It's your routines that help you get recentered, regrounded, and like bring your A game. So those are the 5 sets of success that I get an opportunity to serve and help my business owners build out, because you really need all 5 sets to be successful as an entrepreneur online.
And it sounds like you're doing well. I see your post on social media. I see how much you're getting paid. So I mean, I'm so excited to see your post, and hopefully, as we continue to talk, we're going to work together on a few things that we've already started building. So I'm very excited about that. So let's talk about what kind of pitfalls do you most commonly see in your clients?
Oh my goodness. So the first thing is doing business in person locally is very different than doing business online. I say stop being the best kept secret locally, like get online, be visible. So the first one is really the mindset, skill set, and tool set shift of how being seen online. People don't want to be on camera, or they get nervous, or they just think social media is posting things every day. Like it's just really confusing for them. And so when I say the biggest mistake or the pitfall is that people want to be invisible online, and you can't. You
Right.
can't.
You have to be visible. You have to do things so that you can attract people. It's not a place where it's not like a radio program
No.
where you only hear your voice.
Yeah,
It's not
and
going
just
to work.
because you post every day
Right.
doesn't mean that it's gonna convert into sales, right?
People want to hear and actually feel, feel what you're doing. So I
Yeah.
can clearly see. Yeah. So, for example, I have this podcast that I'm doing, and there are other people who are doing their own side hustle and starting up their own business and trying to figure out how best do I monetize, for example, my podcast. What are some of the key things that I need to do?
Mhm. So the first one is to really truly understand. I call this mining your methodology. It doesn't matter what type of expert you are, but it's really understanding what makes you unique. What makes you, and I talked about this, like what is your unique perspective with how you approach a problem? Okay. The difference between a hobby and a business is that in a business, in order to get paid, you have to solve a problem. Okay. So you have to solve a problem people are willing to pay you for. People say, oh, I want to do my passion. That's great. But if your passion doesn't solve a problem that people are going to pay for, you're not going to get paid. So we want to make sure that you have a really clear, unique methodology. And this is true even for the nail technician I mentioned. Her whole method, she calls it the glassy shine confidence with nails.
Wow.
She came up with that. I was like, oh, girl, I heard that. I was like, I want some of that glassy shine confidence, right? That's her method with how she approaches DIY nails.
That's clever.
Right? I have a life insurance agent client where her method was retire wealthy. And that's her approach with how does life insurance products fit into your retirement? How does savings and budgeting, like the whole thing, she has her own magic sauce. So each of us has our own unique magic sauce on how we approach things. No 2 life insurance agents or no 2 coaches, life coaches will be the same, right? But that's really important because like you're looking to monetize is that you have to be clear with what your genius zone is so that you can message it.
Yes.
Right. And I often say to my clients, if you cannot articulate why you're better, you cannot expect your audience to figure that out because you don't even know. Right.
Exactly.
And that's so important to our messaging and our marketing. And the second thing is really having just one clear monetization path, understanding that you can start anywhere with your business. You can start podcasting, you can start a YouTube channel, you can start a Facebook group, you can start doing whatever, writing a book. It doesn't matter where you start, but to have a sustainable business that's making consistent sales, you got to come back and have in place the business fundamentals. And I think a lot of people don't know that. They just are hoping and doing a whole bunch of stuff. And they're like, oh, I hope this will turn into sales, or yeah, I'm doing the YouTube channel and I hope that people will pay me. but you have to have one clear monetization path and know that if I do the podcast, if I do the YouTube, how am I going to convert this? And then once I convert them, what is my offer? How much am I going to charge? And how am I going to deliver this? You really have to go back to the business fundamentals of what we all know, which is what is your marketing, sales, operations, delivery, right? Like all of those things that are critical inside of a business.
So like, you know the business. So for example, for entrepreneurs or for people who are not visible online, you talked about that earlier, people who do not have an online presence, can you tell them what they're missing?
Oh my God, you're missing a lot. You're missing a lot. Okay. So listen up. In today's world, so a lot of sometimes business owners will say, well, Elizabeth, I'm just going to go ahead and, create an ad, and then my people will click on the ad, and then they'll book a call, and then, I'll just get sales. I'm like, okay. But here's the reality. Today's consumer, we Google everyone, right? So without a strong online presence, even if you're buying ads, even if you're, the best kept secret in your local town, everyone is going online to research you. They're going online to Google you. And if you don't have an online presence, that means you don't have credibility and authority. And if you don't have credibility and authority, then why would anyone buy from you, especially if you want to be charging more? So you have to understand the consumer behaviors nowadays. They search everything online. So this is why it's so important that you just don't look at the online space as like a social media ad or digital marketing. No, you have to be online in today's world as a small business owner, because it's what's going to give you authority and credibility. I want to tell you how important this is, because when COVID first hit and I was helping, some HVAC small business owners, plumbers, really think about their marketing and their business. And when COVID hit, and everyone was quarantined at home, the businesses that went out of business were the ones that when you went to their website, it looked like it was built in 1970. I don't even know if the internet was invented then. But they did not respond to DM messages on their Facebook. They did not have chats. They went out of business pretty quickly. But guess which businesses thrived, right? The ones that had chatbots on their website that got back to customers quickly. The ones that looked like they were still had an active social media account and a current website, those were the ones that were being like showing up, Googling when people's toilets broke down. Their business was booming because everybody was at home, right? Plumbing problems, right? So this isn't just about social media for marketing. This is today's world. You have to have a business model that works online. That's what it really is about.
Absolutely. You're becoming my favorite person online. You talk and you have such energy. What would you say is your biggest and most valued accomplishment?
I would say leading with heart. I think, sometimes as a woman, as a person of color, as a first generation, I, went through college, first generation college, graduate, master's, and then I started my PhD, being raised by parents that didn't have an education. Of course, they want their child to have an education, right? Like that's the definition of success. You're taught, I think, to not necessarily lead with heart. I think in corporate, to be more analytical, to be more logical, and it makes sense, but I would say my biggest accomplishment is really leading in heart with how I build my business.
I love that.
Because at the end of the day, when you say my energy, it really comes from my heart. It really comes from a place of service and like owning that, not just, oh, I want to serve, but like leading with it, right? Leaning into it and leading with it and saying, if I'm going to show up with Helena today, regardless if she's working with me or not, like, how am I just going to serve her and her audience? I just want to lead with heart. And I want to teach and coach and serve and show others that, especially online, we have to lead with the human connection. Too many people are lazy online, right? We think we can hide. I mean, just think about it. Things that people would say on social media, they would never say in person, right? But they can hide behind their screen and say it. And I'm leading with the human connection. And I'm saying, people are like, well, Elizabeth, how are you getting people to DM you Like, how are you doing that? Right. And it's
Mm-hmm.
because I'm like, I'm leading with my heart. I'm leading with human connection. My content resonates. People send DMs. What I don't say to you in person, I would not say to you on social media. Right.
Mm-hmm.
I know it sounds really simple, but somehow online, people just get really lazy, or they just kind of forget,
Mm-hmm.
their manners.
Mm-hmm. So you're getting results for your clients, it sounds like. So what's next for Elizabeth?
Well, what's next for me is, when I started my business, representation in the marketplace really mattered to me. And I want to just share this because this really is what is driving my next chapter, right? I remember, first of all, as a business strategist, not a lot of being a person of color, woman of color, there just isn't a lot of business strategists online. And I remember there was a Black woman that reached out to me, and she was talking to me about her program. And she was saying, Elizabeth, she's a trauma coach. And she's like, do you think a white woman would buy from someone like me?
Mm.
And I said, of course I do. She said, why do you say that? I go, isn't Oprah Black? Like, she's making billions.
Right? That's a
Beyonce,
mm-hmm.
right? So do I think white women would buy from you being a Black woman? Absolutely. But really, what was really at the heart of her question was really her self-worth. Like,
Mm-hmm.
am I worthy of charging this much? And would someone like a white woman be willing to pay this much to work with someone like me?
Wow. Mm-hmm.
And that self-worth conversation, man or woman,
Mm-hmm.
is really what I want to change, right?
Mm-hmm.
Another example of that is a Chinese female entrepreneur. She launched her online e-commerce business for 3 years. She did not put her name or her face next to her business because she was so afraid that people would look at her high-end bridal business and think, in her words, she said this, cheap quality made in China.
Oh my goodness.
And so you have this fear of, I don't know what the right word is. I don't know, racism, discrimination,
Mhm.
biases is
I mean,
probably
all
the
of
best
those
way to
things,
put it.
the life
Yeah.
experiences, you
Yeah.
you feed into those things, and it takes people like you to bring
Yeah.
us through the realization that you can do it. Because I have had, I said earlier when we studied that I've had conversations with you, and some of the things you forced me to think, I never even looked at those things. So I can clearly see where you're coming from. It's like, can I really do that?
Yeah,
So I can see
absolutely.
that. Mhm.
Absolutely. So this is what, when I say representation matters, this is why it's so important, right? And I'll give this other example is that, like, for example, I had a yoga coach. She was an Asian woman. And she's like, do you really think that people would buy this from me? Because most people are buying from, let's say, like white yoga coaches. And I said,
Mhm.
that doesn't even make sense. I was like, if you look at the numbers in our community alone, like there are so many more people who are making a lot more money than they ever have been, who have money to spend. Yeah, are they buying what's on the marketplace? Absolutely. Why? Because what's available are the only options, which
Mhm.
happens to be, and I love my white yoga coaches, but if all the options are white yoga coaches and I need a yoga coach, guess what I'm going to hire? A yoga coach who happens to be white, right? Because
Mhm.
there's no other options. You know what I'm
Wow.
saying? So
That
I
makes
said to her,
sense.
if you get out there and you are one of the rare, diamonds who is a yoga
Mhm.
coach who
Mhm.
happens to be Asian, you have now just disrupted status quo and you're now part of the option. And if a woman felt drawn to you, regardless if she was a woman of color or a white woman and she wanted to work with you, like there's an option. People now can choose. But yeah, of course, it's going to look like, oh, no one wants to buy from me. Well, why? Because the only options have been majority, mainstream.
I
And
love the
if you
way you
don't have
think.
representation, then how can you say no one will buy from you? There just hasn't been representation in the marketplace, right? There's plenty of minority owned businesses who are
Mhm.
slaying it
Mhm.
because they are now an option to consumers. Consumers are
Wow.
diverse. They
I,
want
I love
options,
that. I love the
right?
options, Elizabeth.
Yeah.
You sound like you are onto something. You are doing great. And then it sounds like the next step
Yeah.
is you're onto something great. And I can't wait to see how that's gonna look. So we're coming down to the end. I ask all my guests this question. What is one thing that people would be surprised to know about you?
So, I think it's important that in our business life that we still have fun. And so this is, I guess, a secret. it's going to be really silly, but I'm actually really good at hula hooping.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. I have to say, when I battle with kids, I
Mhm.
outdo them.
Are
So
you?
my hips are
Wow,
still
you must be
pretty
really good.
for my age. But
What are you
I ended
talking
up,
about? What are you talking about for my age?
when I hula hoop competition with the kids, they're always like, "Oh, there's this old woman. She thinks she could out hula hoop us," and then I
Elizabeth,
win.
you gotta cut that old woman thing out. Don't
So
say
I'm always
it.
like hula hooping, and but I do it because sometimes we forget to be playful as a
Yeah,
teenager,
yeah.
But
Mhm.
I would say that's the best secret. The
I
best secret.
love that you can find time to
Yeah.
have fun. Yes,
Mhm.
wonderful. So,
Absolutely.
with all of the wonderful things that you are doing, tell us, how can people reach and connect with you?
So you can go to elizabethyang.biz to learn more about me or to book a call. But for your audience, I also want to give them a free gift. And I'll share this with you to Helena. But if you would love to learn how to have high ticket conversations that convert online, I
Mhm.
have a free gift at conversationsthatconvertonline.com. Just go ahead and, download it. And it's just the do's and don'ts on how to have conversations to sell
Mhm.
online.
Can you just say where they can download that again?
Conversationsthatconvertonline.com.
Wonderful. Well, Elizabeth, this was great. I'm looking forward to having you back when you get into the next part of your business project. So it was so nice having you on, and I look forward for us to continue our conversations offline.
Thank you so much for having me, Helena.
It was a pleasure. Thank you.